society where Pokemon people are actually happy about the game. Hello, everyone. My name is Eric Leon, the man rated EDL, and I am joined by the person whose heart is as black as his shirt that he wears, Evan the Sea, and we are the Old Amber Archives. Evan, this week we had just Louisville come and go, and we also didn't have anything eventful going on this weekend in the local tournament. How was your weekend so far?
Uh, it's pretty good. Pretty chill weekend for me. Busy with work stuff. Other than that, it's pretty chill. On Saturday, I didn't get a chance to go to Louisville. I was trying to plan that out, but it didn't work out for me. But got to watch the stream. A lot of interesting decks. A lot of high variance of decks this weekend, and you see that in top eight. So I'm excited to talk about it and talk about some other stuff that's been going on this weekend.
Yes, we do have a lot of things to discuss as well. Speaking of deck variants, I think everybody can sit here and attest that their fan favorite deck that everybody got to watch was probably the Okie Dokie deck that came onto the first week. Um, which I thought was hilarious because it was just like the most random deck possible, and goes on stream and wins the first game. You love to see it. You love to see when it's rogue decks that just come out and just play and do really well. Um, and going into Louisville and discussing about that, we have a lot of things to talk about in regards to Louisville. There's a lot to go over. First things first, let's get it out the way. Raging Bolt was the one to take it home, defeating the Lost Box, defeating Lost Box. Caleb Gedimer piloting the Raging Bolt deck. Somebody who is used to being in the top tables in the game was able to pilot it and win and take out Michael Davison, who was piloting the Lost Box deck, which I think is another deck. Not a lot of people were expecting to be in that top eight, let alone into the finals. So I didn't get yet to catch this match. This I got a little bit busy coming into the last rounds of it. Were you able to catch the top eight, or were you able to catch the finals and see that matchup?
No, I'm still not. I'm still catching up on that a little bit too. I was busy watching football, but I know Getimer. I mean, I would put my money on Getimer to win that matchup. He's a excellent player, very good, very talented player. Uh, but yeah, I've been trying to catch up on the whole stream. I'm just getting into top eight right now, and I'll finish watching it after this. I just want to see some of those decks. Uh, I Limitless got few of the top eight deck lists up right now. I just was building before we started. I was building a Smarts Terrapagos list, which looks real nice, real nice. Uh, but yeah, just looking at the top eight there's a high variance in that top eight. Uh, Real nice. We saw a lot of Lugia, a lot of talk about Lugia this week, this weekend. As everybody's like, yeah, still old reliable. Lugia still gonna make top eights, still gonna do his thing. Anytime people say that thing's dead, it survives. There's just so many outs, so many options. Can hit for everything, hit for any number you want with the mouses and a bunch of different options, especially with the iron hands. Uh, yeah, this top eight list. Let's go through it real quick. There's Raging. Obviously, Gedimer was on Raging Bolt. Davidson on the Lost Box. Lost Box coming back. I did not expect that.
Go through it real quick. There's Raging.
But
Obviously, Gedimer was on Raging.
uh, but Lost Box. I mean, is we saw the downshift in Drago being played, and the downshift in Bolt being played this weekend. It made Lost Box a good call. I mean, those are the two hardest decks for Lost Box, but if you just dance around them and escape them, you can have a great run. Then we have Kyle Lessines. I can't say that last name on the Palkia Dustnor.
Have a great run.
Sebastian
Kyle.
Sebastian Lament on the Zard Pidgey, old reliable Zar. Benjamin Herbert on the Drago V. Celine Nefera on the Lugia Archeops, Gabriel Smart on the Terrapagos Dustnor, and Yerko Valencia on the Lugia deck too. That was the top eight. That's a very open format, open top eight for this format, and this format seems very open, as we talked about the last couple weeks.
Yeah, and I think, taking a look at the Lost Box matchup and taking a look at how it was built, um, it's very much your standard meat and potatoes Lost Box. It had one cram, it had one Sableye. Taking a look at it, it didn't have any Pheasantipity. It had Spiritomb, which I think, going into how a lot of these decks run and how that turn one desperate need for Rotom to pop off to get the cards that you need to get really makes it difficult, especially for playing decks like Zard, playing decks like Dragapult that are very heavily dependent on having that Rotom pull in. Another deck, Snorlax Stall is something else that would be there. Um, so in regards to that, looking at it and then seeing also he has Iron Hands. So it seems very much like, he just got into some good matchups. He avoided his bad matchups. And then going into the top eight there, he had some favorable matchups. I think the only one I can really see that was going to be problematic is a the Raging Bolt matchup, which he doesn't have necessarily the high end attack power to really kind of start one shotting those guys or setting up multiple prize KOs. Like if you miss a turn, that matchup is just going to get steamrolled upon you. And then outside of that, the only one I could really see as well would be the Reggie Drago. So if he didn't play Reggie Drago and he was able to duck it, the rest of those matchups, Lugia, if you have a slow start, Iron Hands can easily take prizes on top of that. Going into the other matchups, Palkia, Zard. Again, I didn't see which ones they were. My apologies on that. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think he played Zard in the top four. So it's like again, Radiant Greninja, Iron Hands. You can kind of take early aggression and take away the board state of your opponent. So you just have a lot of things that you can take advantage of. And I think, like you said, it's a right play to take at this point. So that it was a right call. It was a good call at the right time. And congratulations to get second place in regards to what that was.
Yeah, now we're gonna see the adjustment back because people are they gonna get scared of Lost Box again, right? Are we gonna see the adjustment? Are people gonna start playing more Pulse again? Are people gonna start playing more Reggie Drago V again? What's the adjustments gonna make? Is some wild man just gonna put one Kyurem in their deck list just for that matchup because they're real scared of it, which could happen, especially at a big regional. He's running into the one guy playing Raging Bolt, but he has the one goddamn Kyurem in his deck because he's so scared of getting playing into the Lost Box matchup. It's again like it's gonna be a complete shift at the next regional. That's the one thing we know for sure is every time there's always a shift. There's always gonna be one giant shift, and especially since at least the next US based regional is gonna be in the next format. Since we wildly have pre-releases coming up for the next set already. What are you getting notifications about pre-releases coming up? So we're already getting into a new format. But at least for the current stuff, yeah, it's this this is this Lost Box is so good into this format with the text it has, especially the use of the bear, the Blood Moon for the big knock at the end, which is really lacking for you. If Pulse not gonna be played and Reggie Drago's gonna be played in low numbers, it's clean. Every other matchup you're happy to play.
Which I think is interesting because I'm gonna look it up right now. In regards to the stats, because um, if I'm not mistaken, the um, day one conversion in regards to Louisville, I think Reggie Drago was like the top one in regards to. Hold on a second. I'm trying to spell Louisville. uh, in regards to that. So, another interesting thing, like I said, I think very much um, it was something along the lines of he just he dodged his bad matchups and he got into some favorable matchups and was able to take advantage of it. So, it's one of those it's one of those decks and it's one of those situations where, very similar to, there's a handful of decks I can think of where it's like, if you just run hot and you avoid your bad matchups, you're going to make a deep play, you know, and that's something that, you just, you get lucky. And that's a part of the game is, your bracket, your matchups that you play into is something that, I mean, I played a regional where, when I was in Fresno and the regional was here in Fresno and I played Lugia, I hit 3 Miraidons, and I'm like, "This is the worst." It really just depends on what your matchup bracket is, and so, if they're, with a high course of, what could possibly be taking you out, if you can just avoid it and duck yourself through and get yourself into favorable matchups, that's a part of the game that you just take advantage of and you run with it as far as you can.
So I got the day one deck analysis right here. So Drago was the fifth most played deck at 8.22%, 158 decks.
Mhm.
Bolt was the highest at 271. Terraparga's Dustnor was at 10.5% at 203. Pult EX was at 9.5% at 183. Lugia was at 8.5% at 167, and then at 6 was at 7.7% was Palkia Dustnor. That was a deck analysis for day one. Uh, Other decks get a 40% of the field. Yeah, but that's very high variance. The decks no super dominant because sometimes we see stuff up into 20%. We've seen that with Zard and stuff. So a lot of people moving around. There's no certified best deck in format right now. I feel like. Let me see if I can
No,
find the
there's
conversion to
not
day two as
something
well.
that. No, and that, is something that makes this all very exciting in regards to, what the meta is, because it really comes down to, you know, it comes down to your comfortability with your deck, knowing your outs, and just honestly being lucky with your matchups and hitting things that are going to be favorable into you, and something that's, avoiding your unfavorable matchups. Because, with as wide as it is, that's something that can easily go south for you if you're not playing, if you hit your worst matchups.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, it's one of those decks where, it's one of those things where it's crazy to think of that they were able to just get themselves in the top two with Lost Box when everybody was like, that's a dead deck. So, congratulations to them on on that aspect of it. Now, something else, um looking at, because you were also bringing up, just the variety of decks that there were here. And it is something because last tournament, in Baltimore, Dragapult won. And now it's like Dragapult wasn't even in the top 8. So,
Yeah.
there it goes again where it's like that's crazy to me that, we have such turnover in regards to what one deck is able to do, and then moving on to the next format and seeing in a completely different rotation of top 8.
And that may have just been pilot based. Ryuki may have just been that good of a pilot and just knew that decks in and out so well. And then he may also just got the matchups. I mean, we saw when he played in the top, his top cut matches, how well he played that deck, how well he didn't take knockouts to
Hmm.
stop his opponent from doing things, just spreading damage around, moving everything around. That was great. I mean, I got the day two analysis here, and like Raging Ball converted the best into day two, 14% into 14% in day two. Terrapagos was 11, almost 12% in day two. Regidrago Venusaur was 10%. Arceus was 9. Charizard at 9. And Palkia Dusknoir was at 7, and then you see the drop off. Like Paul was like the third most played deck in day one, and it doesn't even make the top 5. It doesn't even make the top 6 in the day 2. So you're seeing high variance in there. Yeah, this I played the Paul deck. I played Ryuki's Paul deck, which is what most people probably built their Louisville's off of. And that's a rough deck to play. It's hard, dude. It's not easy. It's not an easy deck to play. If you gotta know exactly what you're doing, you'll be hitting the cards at the right sequencing to get that to work. And I feel like the reason the Fallout was born because not everybody's as good a pilot as Ryuki is on it, and that's the problem. Like that's the thing when you take a deck list from somebody else, like man, am I gonna? You gotta think, can I pilot this list as well as they do it?
Definitely, and that's something that I see. I mean, that's something that I mean I hear a lot in regards to players. Where it's like, oh, this deck wins. Let me just pick it up, and it's like Raging Bolt's already a high deck, so I imagine that picking up Raging Bolt now that it won and having a high at the next tournament, having a high day one is not going to be something that's out of the ordinary, since a lot of people are already high on it. But seeing something like Dragapult, where it dominated, and everybody was like watching somebody play masterfully this deck, thinking to themselves, "Well, that's easy. I can do that." And it's like sometimes no, it's not. No, it's not easy. Sometimes you have to be patient. You have to work yourself through your decks and everything. And so very, very, very interesting to go into that and to see what the top cut is. Now, um, moving on from there and kind of getting into I would say, the meat and the potatoes of this podcast here that we're going to discuss for this, because there's now that we've been a couple of tournaments in regards to this new format and this new rotation. And now that we're seeing how everything is playing out with the asymmetrical, with having 19 match points to make day two, all of this stuff happening, we're finally starting to see, well, sometimes what you think is what's best for you, or sometimes what you think is going to be a good record, or a good place to be in, is not a guarantee in regards to that. And there's a lot of complaints, and there's a lot of people, getting upset and talking about, what, this new tournament structure, we thought it was going to be good, it is not. And there's a lot of people that are missing what originally was the older format, and now wishing to go back to that, or fixing what this is. Now, I know, Evan, we've been talking about this, and you have been telling me you have some opinions in regards to what this is. So what are your thoughts in regards to, a, now that we've seen the tournament structure and how it's playing, what's your thoughts on the tournament structure, and what's your thoughts on the people who are complaining about how it is structured now?
All right. Well, I said originally when they announced the tournament structure, you know this. When they announced the new Worlds qualifying, they announced the new tournament structure. I said the depending on how many people are at the regional, it'll be either 8 rounds or 9 rounds or 7 rounds or 10 rounds, whatever. Uh, it's bad. It's bad because the lower the rounds count is, the more variance there's gonna be. And this is when you get somebody like Alex Szymanski go 10-2 and not get the top cut. And everybody's like, how can you go 10-2 and not get the top cut? Math. It's not that hard to figure out. If you have a basic understanding of math, you can understand the probability. They never and then like if he was 6-2 day one, but there was like 9 people that were 7-1 or better, right? Then okay, well he had to be better than those 9 people and hope they lost everything. Like it's not that hard to figure out. And then the asymmetrical top cut, like it's always gonna be asymmetrical top cut. It wasn't gonna cut to every person with the same record at that point, right? It was never gonna cut down totally great like that. Like all I hate, one thing I hated was when originally when this and was announced. I know a lot of like better players, more professional players said, "Oh, this is great because it really means the top players are gonna get uh, really rise to the top, and you're gonna have a smaller cut and more exclusive cut in day two, and then it's just gonna be the better players there." And then it's like, No, no, no. This means that there's more variance. That if you have two bad games, you're kind of fucked to make top eight, dude. You just are. You are. You have two top eight. Like going 6-2 is no guarantee. Like I did the math of this. If you went 6-2 in day one, based on the standard and the record of this thing, you had about a somewhere. I didn't. My math is kind of off a little bit, but it's some. You had between a 10 and 15% chance of making day two. Making top eight, making the asymmetrical top cut, right? Uh, if it was a 9 round tournament, with the day one, the percentage goes higher because the more rounds there are, the more likely you have a chance to make top eight, right? Wherever you finish in day one with a point thing. But if you're going 8 rounds to 4 rounds, hey, at 6-2, you just gotta assume even if you win those 4 games, yo, you should have won another game on day one. You should have won 7-1 instead of 6-2, right? And then everybody's getting pissed about people being like, "Oh man, people don't understand gentlemen's and people don't understand this. You need to win matches to get to day two." Or people playing slow and because they're like, "Oh, I can't take these ties. I can't do this." Like, yeah, but not everybody plays like you, bro. Not everybody's gonna like offer gentlemen's or agree to gentlemen's, or you guys can both agree to gentlemen's and the other guy's like, "Nah, it's a tie and kick rocks." People are assholes, right? This is why I never agreed to gentlemen's. Um, but it's the minute they announced how the structure is going, and we saw the breakdown of it on the website, it was like 8 rounds to top four, or 9 rounds and you play four, 8 rounds and you play four the next day, or 9 rounds and you play five the next day. I'm like, this is dumb. This is gonna within 2 tournaments, people are gonna be pissed at this because the people that regularly think I should be a top eight, I should be in top eight, I should be in top 16 or whatever, and they don't make it and they get pissed because they're stupid. They're a bunch of dumbass bitches that don't understand. They don't understand the beginning. This is how this was a bad idea. And then the people at TPCI, the play Pokemon people, a lot of those people are fucking stupid. Like, how could you not see this coming? You know, people are gonna throw a strap when things don't go their way. No, the only thing Pokemon players like more than playing Pokemon is complaining about Pokemon. That's the only thing they like more than playing Pokemon. Is complaining about Pokemon. And this is some justified complaining. This is a bad format. But let's understand something here. Pokemon has never been great in making decisions on things. They've never been great about it. It feels like every time there's 2 choices, they pick the wrong one. And this kind of thing as players we just gotta accept. I don't give a shit. It doesn't affect me. None of this affects me. None of this, not one of these things affects me in my life. But what annoys me is when every time I go on X, I see these people complaining about things that are very obvious. And it's always very obvious that this was going to be an issue. 12 rounds? 12 rounds is not enough to have what you can, if you consider the best players to come to the top. 12 rounds means whoever's brand the fucking hottest goes to the top, right? There's no variance, there's nothing you can do. You can't afford a tie. You can't afford any ties in this format. You better win, okay? And you better play fast enough to win the games because if you get a tie, you might as well take that as a loss. 1 point doesn't mean shit. This counter ties and losses. You better figure out how to play faster, and this hurts the slower players too, right? So if you're a slower player, let's say a lot of this, a lot you're seeing recently. Have you noticed how recently in this new format, some of the very obviously slower players are not making it to day twos, not making it high in top cuts, in the top cuts. Has anybody else noticed this? A lot of the real, let's call them deliberate players. A lot of players that take a lot of time, do their things. Have you noticed that a lot of them aren't doing as well recently, right? Because they can't afford it, because they're getting ties when they can't afford it. They're still playing the way they need to. When you're like, hey, everybody's got to play at a faster pace now. You got to get a win. You got to finish 3 games. If you're taking an L on something, you got to scoop and go. I know on stream, I think it was day one, Piper Levine. She's a good player. She talked about it. She's like, hey, you got to know when to scoop in this format now. And that's true.
Yeah.
You got to know when to scoop. If that game is unwinnable, you got to pick that shit up and go. Because you got to get your next game in.
And I have my opinions in regards to this tournament, and I'm gonna take this from not from a card competitive viewpoint. I'm gonna take this from a business standpoint in regards to um why I think they made this decision. And I'm gonna sum it up on 2 different aspects. Number one, nobody likes ties. Like on stream, watching two people play a children's card game. Nobody wants ties. Nobody likes ties. It's never fun watching ties. I remember there was a comedian a long time ago that made a joke, and they're like, the reason why America doesn't like soccer is because we want winners and we want losers. Ties, nobody wants to have. And so, first things, if you're a business and you're trying to elevate your platform of showcasing a game that people can pick up and watch. And it's not just people like Evan or me who are in the game, who are watching this, who are studying everything, trying to see, what we can talk about or what we want to play. We're talking about, kids that want to say, "Hey mom, watch this with me. Isn't this so cool and exciting?" And it's two players slow playing to a tie. Nobody Nobody wins in that scenario. But I'll tell you though, one of the coolest moments I actually watched today, or actually it was yesterday, was Ian Robb playing Palkia. And Ian Robb, in one turn, took four prizes. And just the idea of him moving through the board state, playing and sequencing his entire strategy for in one little turn, taking four prizes. I saw that and I was like, that is what they want. That is what Pokemon cares about because that is a highlight reel. That is something that they can go to their board of directors and say, listen, this is what we have on our hands. This is something that they can put into a clip on a reel at the end of Louisville to showcase, oh, here's an exciting moment. There's nothing exciting about ties. There's nothing that you can show in a highlight reel of a game that goes to a tie. And so, very simply put, I get where everybody's complaining about it, and I understand that from a game competitive standpoint, it may be frustrating, but from a business standpoint, it makes 100% sense. It forces people to play the game at such a faster state that they have to win games. There has to be a winner and there has to be a loser in order for you to continue on. You have to win. And that's what it's focusing on. And you can get mad about that. You can get frustrated about that. But as a company that needs to show and grow and showcase that they are actually, a highlight reel or something exciting about that, right? They have to do this. They have to put the format to make it to where you win or you lose. So for me, I get it. I understand why you won't like it, and I completely hear you out. Yes, it is a frustrating format because it takes the strategy of playing a game and making a decision on do I play to a tie or anything on that. I have like you said, you have to know when to scoop now. You have to know when to play things out. You have to know when to compete on this. And that may suck as a competitor, but as a company, it makes complete sense. That's just my thought.
When he did that four prize turn, he should have done this after doing that.
I
But
think he's learned better. I
nah, he
think
should.
he's learned
No,
about
he should
that.
have done it. But he should have got dice in his hand. He should have picked up two dice instead of just shaking the dice. I think it's just been like get out,
You
dice.
got to release. You got to
Yeah, gotta
release when you
release it.
do that. That's
I
the
mean,
key.
I think I agree with you. What I would have done though, what they should have done, how I would have done it, kept it 9 rounds no matter what on day one. Still make the cut 21 points because you still got to go 7-2 to make day two. Keep it as five, cut it to 5 rounds in day two, and then still do the asymmetrical top cut. And then I think a lot of people would be less pissed off right now. I think that realistically fixes a lot of problems. If you have, because originally you used to play 50, there used to be 15 rounds, right? You're playing 15 rounds, right? And that's basically what people like because then okay, I could if I drop a round here or there, or I do a tie here or there, I can get through the thing. if you did it how it used to be 9 rounds, every tournament doesn't matter how many people are there. 9 rounds, you hard cut it to 21 points. Uh, to day two, and then you do play 5 rounds in day two. Asymmetrical top cut. I feel like that fixes a lot of problems. I don't know why anybody at PCI uh, didn't think about that. I feel like that's a very simple solution to everything, and I feel like that's gonna be the solution next year. Next season they're gonna change it again. It's gonna be that's the thing. Um, but yeah, man, like everybody complains about everything, dude. And I saved receipts. Like I went back and I'm gonna go message these fools uh, that said, "Oh, this is gonna be amazing," and now they talk about how it's shit. I mean, Azul was annoyed, like, "Oh man, if 4-0 in day two can't get you top cut, I don't think I should be playing." Or 10-2 can make it top cut. I don't think I should be like, don't play, dude. Quit. Just quit. Who gives a shit about you? Who really anybody gives a shit about his opinion? Just stop. Like it's obviously you want to complain about these things, and especially you're gonna complain really hard when you're not the guy making top cut, or one of your boys isn't the person making top cut. We all know, bro. Everybody knows you're pissed. But if you were the guy that was 8-0 in day one and 12-0 in day two, you wouldn't be complaining. But that's just how it is. Like what I can't really wait for is off this new format, new system, and everything. Is when we get to Worlds qualifying time at the NAIC, and so many people that regularly make Worlds don't make it, and they start bitching about how could Pokemon do this? How could it do this to a player base? And I'll be like, bitch, you wanted this. You thought you were good enough to make it, but I guess you're not. I guess you're just another scrub. You're just another body to make up the numbers.
Thought you were Macho Man Randy Savage. I thought the cream was gonna rock.
Yeah,
In regards to that, no,
yeah, and
and I agree.
I guess these people are not the cream that they thought they were. The cream they thought they
No,
were, they would have gone 7-1 or 8-0 on day one and not have to worry about this shit.
no, I think so, and thinking about the new format and being the top 125, it is definitely going to be something that's going to be, that's another point where it's like, I sit there and I listen to people talk about it, and I'm like, okay, but as a business, are you going to you know, are you going to start renting what football stadiums now in order to be able to manage these tournaments? Convention centers are only a specific size. You can't get bigger than that unless like you start moving into like stadiums and start really doing like some heavy, setups in regards to that. And nobody's going to fund that. Nobody's going to put the money down to get to that when they already have a system that works. So instead of opening up the budget to rent a stadium or something along those lines, they're simply just going to say, okay, we're going to cut it to here, and it makes sense from a business standpoint. It makes sense that you're going to put down a bracket that's going to be more difficult to get into, and then you're going to put a tool system to get into worlds that's going to be more difficult, because again, it's a business. And with a business, they need to be able to make money and profit on that. I get it. I understand if you that's not something that makes you happy or proud of, but it is what it is. And this is the field we're in a part of. If you want to play Pokemon, you have to understand this is them making those decisions. And if you don't like it, yeah, either you live with it or you move on to something else. So for me on that end of it, that's just my thoughts about it. So what about you, Evan? You feel like
I
it looks like you got something to say.
I agree with you. I'm the business guy around here. You know that I love talking Pokemon business stuff. Uh, I agree. Like at some point, this is like they just can't afford things. People are like, oh, but they're taking on fees, bro. Like you think about all the fees, like whatever. Like that doesn't people don't understand how much it costs to run one of these things because you're basically running a convention, right? You know how much insurance you gotta fucking pay for these kind of things? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how much insurance you gotta pay for this thing. And now they're paying the judges, so you gotta pay taxes and shit off the judges too, because all the judges getting going there now, getting like W-2s and shit for this. So it's wild, dude. It's a lot. I understand like they want to make they don't want to rent out huge as arenas for World. They want Worlds to be more convenient and stuff. You know what? You know, if you want to save some money, maybe you shouldn't like be giving all this money to or giving all this access to some of these streamers and or some of these content creators and stuff. That doesn't mean like I'm not gonna be like, hey, I'm gonna try to apply us for Worlds as content creators. We don't qualify. I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna play the game that I need to play to do what I need to do. I'll be like, yo, rated ADO, get him some passes to World. This guy's doing content creation on on YouTube and on TikTok. Get this shit. Get these pack openings, bro. Um, and then I also have some plans in the future. I'm buying a GoPro and I'm gonna film a whole regionals from GoPro level and then cut it to a video for the site for the thing. That's the plan in the future.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll see if I actually go through with that. But I'm looking at GoPros right now, trying to see what I can do, and then cut that thing together. There'll be no Pokemon play minutes. Just be us, whatever we're doing in between rounds, hitting the vape outside.
Pretty much just the day in the life of a Pokemon competitor.
Yeah. But yeah, I like, I. You know what I've been doing recently? I've been watching a lot of old like these people that do history recaps on Magic the Gathering, which is the A1 card game, right? Magic the Gathering is the A1 card game, and you look at their stuff from business perspective, right? And you look at when they were trying to grow the game a lot in the 90s and the 2000s. Uh, I gotta show this video to you one time. I gotta show you these MTV promos Magic the Gathering paid for to run in the 90s, and they're absolutely ridiculous. This dumbest thing in the world. I think Pokemon should redo them though, because they're trying to like take their pro players, because you know the Magic Pro Tour, right? They actually have a Pro Tour for the players you can
Hmm.
qualify, and you actually get like a salary off that. And I can see Pokemon trying to do this with some of the multimedia stuff. Like you saw that new show they have where they go around and talk to players. There was that show they had last season uh, on the website where it was like it would have different episodes and people trying to qualify for worlds and they would talk to different players. And you're starting to see
Yeah.
this with even like the day to day stuff. They're trying to get storylines for people. Like they had a Juan show. They did an interview on day one. They did an interview with that piece of shit, talking about the run he's having since Worlds, right? Um, so obviously they're trying to promote their players a little bit more to get more into this sphere, this multimedia sphere. But like, it's kind of rough, man, because like some of those dudes that Magic promoted ended up being pieces of shit, right? Uh, Cheaters at the lowest end, worse at the highest end. Uh, but like trying to get these things. For me, I don't care. I don't really care about any of these people, other than the people that I'm friends with. Like there's a really good competitive players, the people that regularly make top cuts and stuff that I'm friends with. And I actually give a shit about them, but they're my friends. Everybody else, I don't care if they live or die. Uh, I just don't. Uh, so none of this affects me, but you know it will affect the next generation of players coming up, like you know the younger kids, because they look at these higher players and be like, "Hey yo, this guy's cool, this guy's cool, this guy's cool." Uh, be careful who you hit your wagons to though, from Pokemon. But I'm seeing a lot of the same business issues from Pokemon that I you can see in those videos that Wizards of the Coast had for Magic. Um, but it's 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 gonna be interesting to see how they keep going forward because like the one thing Pokemon has is always gonna have people, right? There's always gonna be things that bring people back to the game and make them play and make them do things because they get you when you're young and you come back when you're older. But we'll you know we'll see how it goes going forward. They're Goliath in business uh, that seems to always run into similar problems all the time.
Right. No, and so
Oh, I think we lost Eric.
like for me, that's why I just I'm like, you know, you look at these people, you listen to them, and
Oh, we lost Eric. Ah, shit. Okay, well, I'll keep going. Man, fuck Rahul Reddy. Fuck that fool. Hate him. He's a piece of shit. Uh, dumbass bitch. Okay, so again, going to Pokemon business. Obviously, Pokemon does a bunch of issues. They have a bunch of problems that they always deal with. They always have issues here and there, business wise, and it always feels like every time they do something, it pisses off the community. That's how businesses are, man. That's like a natural thing. That's a thing that always happens. Like every time, like any big business, nobody's ever gonna be 100% happy with anything they do. It's a major issue. And then they run things, they got fixed things. Like you look at the video games, everybody been pissed at the video games for years. That's why everybody was on Power World, and now they're suing Power World. And everybody's like, "Oh, what the hell's going on with Power World? What the fuck is this shit?" Uh, but it's real dumb. It's real stupid. But there's nothing you can do about it. It is what it is. Uh, we lost Eric. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to Eric. I'll try to get him back, but I'm gonna filibuster where we're going. Uh, yeah, it's real stupid. Uh, yeah. Oh, he's back.
Me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We lost you for a second. I was trying to filibuster. I was just saying fuck it, fuck Raul the whole time, so we're good.
I hadn't missed much. Got it. All right. Yeah, no, sorry, my internet just decided to take a nosedive on me here.
I mean,
Uh,
you did just move into a new place, so it's you gotta there's gonna be some hiccups here and there.
right? Yeah, no, I know. Moving to a new spot, gotten everything situated here, but continuing off of our conversation, um, yeah, no, I just, I think that I do agree with you. I think that obviously, the first year there's going to be some learning curves. We're not going to be 100% perfect um in regards to our in regards to the format and everything, because they they got to see what works, and they got to figure it out here. Because yes, you can sit here and say, oh well, let's use Magic's template. Well, yeah, but Magic has different players, they have different volumes of people that come in and play on their side of it, so
I'm
it's
not
not something that you can
I'm not saying
take one
use
for
I'm
one.
not taking use magic templates. I'm just saying there's some lessons they can learn if they look back at how Magic started. Because like Pokemon never really threw. There's a big difference between Pokemon now, what they're trying to do, compared to what they've done for the past 20 something years, right? There's a big push for them to push the trading card game back. We noticed it the last couple years. The production values, the streams have gotten better. They are now actively streaming. Like when I started playing, Pokemon would come and do streams this stream every once in a while. They would stream regional, right? And then sometimes you have local crews streaming regionals. It was harder to get coverage for regionals back when I started playing, right? So let's say the early 2010s, right? Back when Gizmos was the big store for playing the card game of Fresno, and Balanos was only 1,000 years old. Uh, uh, back then. Um, but so there is a solid uh, there's lessons to be learned when you're trying to push a game based off issue. And it's hard for me to say like, oh, don't follow Magic's template, don't learn lessons from that. Like Magic's the biggest card game in the world, right? And Pokemon, depending on the time period, is number 2 or number 3 where it falls. Uh, Depending on certain ups and downs. Right now, I would consider it to be. Uh, yes, Megan, I had to crank that TV. I'm old as shit. I had to crank that fucking TV. I was like this the whole time. It's wild, but there, I can see what Pokemon's trying to do now, and the only thing I compare it to is what Magic tried to do in the '90s, in the mid to late '90s, when they were really trying to push that thing forward. And Magic is a way more. Magic was always like a super competitive game. A super like they got the Pro Tour going, they got certain things going, and that's something I wouldn't put past Pokemon to do at some point. Is maybe do like a Pro Tour, where it's a more invite exclusive tournament structure. Because Magic has the Pro Tour, then you have Grand Prix, right? So it's two separate tournaments. You can get from Grand Prix, you can qualify the Pro Tour and get into that, and it basically becomes like two different worlds, and we can two separate things. It's a crazy concept. I don't expect Pokemon to fully do that, but I can see what they're trying to do is they're trying to really push the personalities of the players. It does. I'm very interested to see what Pokemon starts doing over this year, over the next year, because just since coming back from COVID, even like a little bit before COVID, before, a little bit before the pandemic, you saw the production values at them going up. So Pokemon is investing money into Pokemon, into the trading card game, into the VGC, into the productions of these things, and they're trying to do other multimedia things off the back end. And Pokemon never used to invite like content creators to worlds and do things for them or give them early invite, early access to the Pokemon store, early things, all these other things that they did. This wasn't a thing that was done before. So somebody at Pokemon really is pushing this initiative that they're doing, and we're gonna have to see how it works out because I don't know what they're fearing about. There's something projected at that company that they say this needs to be done. I wonder what that is, right?
Well, from what I know, from what I've heard, and moving off of Pokemon and trying to just be really quick in regards to this, um, Shigeru Miyamoto is trying, like he's one of the people that's really trying to push Nintendo as a entirety of it to be a complete conglomerate now because they're planning to do a cinematic universe with their things. They want to open up a theater next to the Nintendo museum so that you have you go through your museum and then you go to the theater and you can watch a movie that you want to watch in regards to that. So you know, all and Pokemon's a part of it in regards to they're trying to just become a global conglomerate, very much similar to what you see not just with Magic, but what you also see with like pro sports, with the NFL, with the NBA. They want to have that concept of just they're a global conglomerate in regards to the content that you're breathing into with them. So you're getting the VCG, you're getting people that are doing TCG, you're being people that are doing Pokemon Go, and then like you said, it's not just, oh, I want to watch Pokemon play, I want to watch these guys. No, it's, oh, I want to watch Wolfie. I want to watch I want to watch Azul play, right? I want to watch Alpharad stream of watching these people play in
Hey,
regards to that.
I love Alpha Ride. I love Alpha Ride before the Pokemon thing. I remember watching that fool on Friends without benefits. That's how far I go back. Like, I've been watching Alpha Ride since that fool was like 18, 17, 18, starting the streaming stuff. I've been deep in that thing. When he played that Super Mario Sunshine, where he forgot that he had the Game Genie codes on, and he had Mario doing like flopping around, that shit was wild. When they were doing the streams at Friends Without Benefits, went on the backside on the other, they were recording two streams in the other room, and Cade was in the other room, and they were playing that Game Dev Tycoon, and he did an entry Sig Heil Gamers because they're doing like a Nazi thing on the other side. It was wild. Love Alpha Red. Sorry, that was a tangent. I love him. Alpha Red's great.
But my
Yeah,
point, obviously, is that like he's one of those people that gets invited to worlds, and
yeah,
he gets to do a stream and do all the. That's what they're focusing on. They
yeah.
they can care less on what the actual gameplay is or what the tournament structure is. They want these names. They want people who are they want to be a conglomerate where it's like you watch it, but then you also watch these people play the game itself, and that's what they're focused on in regards to that because that's the next step of being, hey, you have a worldwide competitive format. What's the next thing above that? Well, now it's making personalities, now it's making being more a global name recognition and things like that. And with social media, you have access to it. You have everybody who is jumping into these types of things, myself included. Follow me at Rated EDL, by the way. Uh, you have all these people doing all this stuff, and so it's like you get that just naturally get that stuff coming in. So you have all these people who are bringing their viewers, their fans coming into it. So it just keeps building on top of itself.
Yeah, and it's smart. Let's not say any of this isn't smart. Like Pokemon as a business is great, and as you said, the thing was Nintendo. It's fully true. I mean, obviously, Pokemon. There's no two closer companies that aren't a single unit than Pokemon Nintendo. I feel like you think Pokemon is Nintendo every time you think because it's like this that loyalty between those two companies unbound. Like because it's a craze and they print money. Those two companies together print money. Like it's wild. So you can't. Obviously, people always gonna bitch, or people always gonna complain about things. There's never gonna be a when. There's never gonna be a time where people aren't complaining about one thing or another in regards to Pokemon and things they're doing, tournament structure, cards that are coming out, formats, other players, the banning of certain players that they feel is unjustified. That was a wild thing that happened this week or this past couple weeks. But like, it's there's always gonna be people complaining. But the thing is, your complaints kind of just fall into the nothingness. Like Twitter or X or whatever is very much the complaining you hear from like the 0.1%, 0.5%, right? Compared to how many people actually play Pokemon, how many people are out there actually doing things. Uh, but there's always gonna be issues. There's always gonna be players complaining. I mean, we saw this back in Worlds, or I think it was NAIC with even the VGC. We don't talk about VGC, but about VGC when players are complaining about, oh man, you're not allowing me gen Pokemon. I don't have time to breed these Pokemon in the ways I want to do. So I gen them. This shouldn't be illegal. Oh, well, you're a fucking dumbass. But people complain. It's always gonna be a thing. People are always gonna complain about certain things. People are gonna complain about certain issues. If there's a fully diverse format into CG, people are like, oh man, there's no dominant deck in the format. If there's one dominant deck in the format, people are like, oh shit, there's only one dominant deck in Pokemon. It doesn't matter. No one's ever gonna be happy in Pokemon or in life. It's just how it is. No one's ever gonna be happy. Who's happy? Feelings? I haven't had feelings since I was 13 years old. You remember feelings? But just every, it's a constant thing. It's a constant thing we're gonna talk about. I mean, there's not a week that goes by without there gonna be somebody complaining about somebody bullshitting about something, right? Somebody being an asshole, somebody cheating, somebody getting banned, somebody. There's always gonna be things. It's gonna be constant interaction, constant dumbass shit. But like, what can we do? Like, me and you play the game because we enjoy playing the game. I right, we enjoy playing the game. If we do good, great. If we do bad, hey, whatever. I play it because I want to chill with the homies. Like I'm going to regionals. Like we're both going to SAC next month, right? Sacramento Regionals,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna
I'm so excited.
and like I'm gonna be there and I'll be like, I'm gonna play, and if I do good, great. If I don't do good, hey, whatever. And I'm gonna go to San Antonio in January. I'll be like, hey, if I do good, great. If I don't, hey, whatever. I don't care. That's just my personality. All right. But then like, bro, you went 10-2 in regional and you're bitching about not making top cut. Like at some point, you just gotta like swallow the pill and say, just chalk it up to luck and be like, all right, fuck. There was like so many players above me that had a better record than me. All right, cool. Just chalk it up and move on with your life at some point. And then everybody else complaining about, oh man, it sucks. And you're like, oh, look, bro, this is how we gotta play for the next year at least. Until at least next Worlds, this is how we gotta play, and this is how it is. So you can just like chalk it up and take it, or you can just like suck a dick. I don't know.
All right. And to answer the question in the chat, no, Megan, we haven't talked about the Reddit leaks yet. I just learned about the Reddit leaks like 5 seconds before coming on. So I haven't even gone through those yet myself. We'll cover those at a different point in time. Um,
We're gonna
and
cover.
then
We're gonna one thing I want to say about the leaks. Well, I hope Eric gets some time to go through them. I want to go through these next week. I feel like there's a lot of content there, and some freaky motherfuckers at Pokemon.
what else
Freaky,
is new?
freaky.
Um,
Some of that lore stuff. Wow.
Secondly, there were actually some quirky decks on stream. You missed it. We were talking about it. The first game that they had in regards to the stream was a cloth deck, which is considered a very rogue deck. And I know you love cloth, Megan. And the other one was Okie Dokie, which nobody had on their radar. Nobody knew was even going to be, formatted. The guy went 5-1-2 with that deck, by the way. Wild. He missed it by his two ties. But basically, yeah, no, the guy was just a polka dad, just showed up for his kid and went 5-1-2. Shout outs to all the polka dads out there that play for fun.
Yeah, this a wild. Like I went up and was watching that stream, and the only first thing I thought about was like, man, this is a big Doug energy. Our boy Doug. I'm like, oh man, like Doug obviously loves the cloth. I'm like, oh man, I could see him playing this Okadoga deck. Uh,
And that was
wow,
that was a Doug versus Doug match.
that's wild, dude. That was great. Yeah. Oh, one last thing on the lore. Before we get back into next week, read some of those stories if you get a chance. You can go look up Central Leaks on Twitter, and he basically has got every leak going down his page for the last. That dude was putting in work for the last 24 hours, putting up all the leaks. A lot of those stories feel like they were written by Gaming 2K. Let's just say, like a lot of the stories felt like a lot of those stories of Gaming 2K with pen in one hand and
And
pipe in the
Ian
other hand.
Robb, Ian
Ian
Robb in
Robin
the
in
other.
the other hand. So it is, but hopefully we get a chance to get into those next week because I do some of those beta designs for some of these Pokemon. They look amazing. They look so sick, and it's a wild thing to come out, dude. There's a lot of deep lore in there, deep dive into like the ideas. There's like a pitch meeting break like transcript in there, or like when they sat down at the Gen 3 to really talk about the future of Pokemon. There's like a transcript to a meeting in there. There's some deep stuff in there.
Definitely for another time. We'll look into that and everybody. And going from here, um, it's getting to that time where we have to wrap it up. Evan, any last comments or any last thoughts that you have before we end it here today?
I just want to say big shout out to your boy Adam. Adam was a stream judge for the top 8 man match. I was able to see
Yes.
it. Oh, big shout! That man deserves it. That man deserves to judge, be stream match at Worlds, and dude deserves to be the highest of judges. And if I have anything to say about it, he will. I'm gonna make that man a star.
Definitely shout out to Adam being on stream and being the judge on that as well. We've watched him come here and judge our leagues, and definitely one of the most honorable and fairest people you will ever come across when it comes to ruling and making decisions in regards to that. I've never had a ruling that Adam has made in one of my matches where I felt like it was unfair or targeted. That man just plays it down the middle as best as he possibly can and has the best intentions in regards to that. So shout out to him. Definitely well deserved. Hopefully there's more times we'll get to see him on stream in the future events.
Yeah, but that's pretty much all I have for today. I got
All
nothing
right,
else.
everybody, and definitely if you liked it, go ahead and give us a follow in regards to that, so you can catch up on the next time that we go live in regards to our streams. Thank you everybody for watching. My name is Eric Leon. I'm the man rated EDL. Evan Vesey. We are the Old Amber Archives, and you guys have a good rest of your day. Take care.
Peace.